I'm energized, the more I'm heads up, the more I can connect with the world around me, the more I can have an impact on the world around me.
Girl, you've got questions. Questions about your body and how to feel good in it, about your hormones and how to keep them in check. Questions about your sex life and your whole health. Can you imagine having a best girlfriend who was also a triple board certified OBGYN? A girlfriend doctor you could call and ask or tell her anything. Someone who could show you how to live any stage of life, before, during, or after menopause, in a big, bold, and beautiful way. Well, friends, I'm your girlfriend doctor. I believe you are meant to flourish and shine, to embrace life and awaken to all its possibilities. Let's get there together. Welcome to our show. How's your energy? Are you feeling wide awake in the morning, like you're ready to just start the day and take charge? Do you feel like well rested when you wake up? And how about your energy throughout the day? Are you just at a good pace, feeling good, your mind's clear, strong willpower, doing good with your intermittent fasting, no craving, staying keto green, and you're just feeling awesome? Or are you struggling? Is it a struggle to get out of bed? Do you feel that 3 or 4 p.m. slump in the middle of the afternoon where you're like, man, I could just use a nap, but I don't have time, so I'm going to grab a cup of coffee? Do you feel like by the time you get to bed, you're just exhausted, but then you're up at 3 a.m. and can't get back to sleep? This is about our energy. Our body is, our physiology drives our behavior, and we need to improve our physiology on a regular basis. We need to detox, really choose the energy source that we're using to supply our body. And so today we're going to talk all about energy and the energy formula, which is actually the title of a book by a friend and colleague of mine named Shawn Wells. He is a nutritional biochemist, a registered dietitian, and a certified sports nutritionist, also known as the ingredientologist. So he's really been a key formulator in over 500 supplements in food and beverage and cosmeceuticals. He has a number of patents after him. He's been a chief clinical dietitian and just has his own story, going from obese and sick and depressed to really, powerful, vital, a leader in this field, doesn't want anyone else to struggle. So just like me, he's a strong proponent of keto in a healthy way. And I want to share this discussion with you because we hit on some amazing, really key components. You know what I say, that the thoughts are king, right? That when we change our thoughts, we can really empower our entire physiology. And the same thing, the way we nourish our body empowers our physiology, empowers our thoughts, right? So it works both ways. In our discussion, you'll hear Shawn say that you are what you eat. It's not that, that's not really the case. You burn what you eat is really what we need to be focusing on, that we are burning what we eat and using what we eat versus being what we eat. And then the issue that we found in just working in the ketogenic world, that oftentimes people think they're doing keto, but they actually never get into ketosis. So testing and no guessing. Wait till you hear about his take on snacking. And there's another form of snacking that you may not have heard about called exercise snacking. And that's really kind of the only snacking that we recommend, and certainly very key. We've also hit on some key supplements to help us, and key practices to change our life and change our energy throughout the day. So I'm excited to bring this show to you today, the Girlfriend Doctor Show. And let me introduce you to my dear friend, Shawn Wells. Well, welcome, Shawn, to the Girlfriend Doctor Show. It is so good to finally have you on.
I am actually thinking about changing my name to the boyfriend biochemist or the boyfriend dietitian. So
I think we could have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. We'll see.
Well, as I've shared with my audience, just you are an expert in the field of energy metabolism, and you have your own amazing story to share. And I'm excited for all your work. I'm excited for your book, The Energy formula. I'm excited to be in the future speaking on stages with you. I think we're in November speaking on stage in Dallas together, and maybe do a little Texas tour. Excited to, we'll let our audience know. There'll be information in the show notes for some details on that. But, you know, well done with this book. I want to talk about what prompted you, you know, a book like this, like my book, The Hormone Fix, and these are labors of love. These are intensive. These are, you know, I mean, it's just, it's a true labor of love. We don't do this just to publish a book, and especially one with as much detail, science, and soul work that's been done to get this done. So share with us your why.
Oh man, it is, you're right. It's so much work. Like the amount of work that goes into it, I had no idea. When someone's like, oh, I'm going to write a book, and, you know, and I have some friends that just take 6 months and, you know, sit by a beach and write out this, you know, book. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'm gonna crank through this thing and it's no big deal. And it was a year and a half of my life, and it was probably about 30 to 40 hours a week on top of my 60 plus hours a week. And to add that was brutal. It was brutal. It is a complete labor of love. There is so much work that goes into promotion for it, but even prior to that, just all the, like, the scientific pieces, getting those right, looking through all the studies, trying to get flow, story, like, you know, I got this whole idea about having like these 6 hallmarks, and then it being like, you know, these different pillars of what I think, you know, leads to a more energetic life. And then it kind of stumbled into like it being an acronym for energy, experiment, nutrition, exercise routines, growth, and your tribe.
Whoa. Say that again. Energy?
Yeah. So energy is an acronym for experiment. Like having that bio-individuality and doing the testing and getting the metrics. Nutrition, like with Mediterranean diet, keto, vegan, carnivore, all that kind of stuff. And then getting into exercise with high intensity interval training, blood flow restriction, intraset stretching, exercise snacks throughout the day, all this new data. Then there's routines, which gets into circadian rhythm, growth, which is like a stoic mindset. I also get into nootropics. And then the last chapter is your tribe, and that having that community connection and the tribe of mentors around you. So there's a lot that's covered. And I fell into this whole, these pillars, if you will. And so that took some time. All of it took a lot of time. And my why for it, I really, like, the last 20 years, I've been amassing all this information of working clinically, working on supplements, helping people with my Instagram and Facebook. You know, what it looked like was lots and lots of conferences, documentaries, television programs, radio programs, all these things. And I just wanted to like put it all in one place. So it's like, if someone has a question, here's a place to start, and then I can answer further from there. But this is like my best of brain dump of like all the things I know to do to make you healthier and more energetic. But also, like, there's some of my story woven in there, and you can see how I've really turned my life around in terms of just living life on the edge and being morbidly obese, being depressed, being suicidal, being anorexic, being orthorexic, having autoimmune conditions, and being in bed for 6 months in pain and inflamed, having 2 discs replaced in my neck, and again, considering suicide because I was in so much pain, having a brain tumor, being a workaholic, you know, all of these things like I get into in the book. And and how I dug myself out of those.
Let's start like in our audience. What are you seeing like as the number one concern, especially in this time, in the COVID pandemic? I mean, your book couldn't have come at a better time, honestly, to help. And we're so like-minded in this, you know, and the issues that affect our hormones, cellular function, right? And you're a paramount biohacker, right? And so I want to talk about exactly. First, let's talk. What does biohacking mean? And what are you like, what are you seeing that are essential that's been a shift in our society today that, you know, we have to be so proactive about fixing or correcting, course correcting?
I mean, first off, biohacking is hacking your biology. There's shortcuts to improve your vitality, improve your function. So those are things like, you know, bulletproof coffee, and, you know, doing things like taking orthomolecular doses of supplements, sun gazing, cold plunges, red light saunas, wearing blue light blocking glasses, things like that are all things that I get into in this book. Yeah, taking your supplement for sure. Those are all things that I cover in the book, but there's another important aspect that I talk about in this book, that there's the idea, like biohacking is the mashup term of hacking your biology. There's also hacktivism, which is being an activist that uses hacking for social good, like thinking of like Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, these guys. And I love the idea of like biohacking, not just for yourself and your own performance, but biohacking for the greater good. The more I'm energized, the more I'm heads up, the more I can connect with the world around me, the more I can have an impact on the world around me. So I talk in my book about this idea of biohacktivism, and it's resonated a lot in the biohacking community as a term I found. So I think that's fun.
I love biohacking. So I've been a biohacker as a scientist way back. I don't know if you know this about me, Shawn, but before I went to medical school, I worked for the US Navy in the diving medicine department in exercise and respiratory physiology, working with deep sea divers, rebreathing units. I mean, I was doing mass spec and studying performance at different levels, as well as recovery and bends tables for the deep sea divers. And you know what, you know, like where are those limits? What can we push? What makes it better? What are other things that are affected, you know, by this high stress, high intense living, including sperm count and fertility? So of course, working with diving medicine, it was worked completely with all men at that time. And so it was just the perfect balance to bring that into women's health. Like, how do we increase our performance? How do we perform better under stress? And, you know, with my journey and, you know, going through early menopause and infertility at 39, being well over 240 pounds at one point, and struggling with the, you know, depression, you know, I would say stressed, depressed, and my hormones were a mess. I mean, I know what it likes to want to feel like. I know what it feels like to want to die, right? I know what that feels like. So when you say that, like my heart goes out to you and to anyone who is listening and is struggling with depression, feelings of isolation, you know, suicide ideologies, or in our own families and people we love and we care about, friends we know. And we can see the isolation, the retraction, and in this time, this pandemic stress, right? This high levels of cortisol is creating that, you know, that, I mean, a cellular breakdown at a certain level. Can you talk about that? Can you talk about a little bit about, you know, how that's affecting our mitochondria, our cell function, our metabolism, our energy? Why is it such an energy suck? Why are we feeling this black hole? What, you know,
Yeah, there's numerous reasons. It's something of a circular discussion, because the less mitochondrial function that you have, the less energy you have. And because you have inflammation, pain, fatigue, you're going to have more mitochondrial dysfunction, and then that'll play into even greater mitochondrial dysfunction because the mitochondria don't have enough fuel. and then you're in a state of insufficient cellular energy, and then you're in a state where you're kicking off more inflammation, glycation, oxidation, because there isn't enough fuel. It's like literally trying to like, put regular gas in the, Ferrari, and then trying to like push the engine as hard as you possibly can. There's going to be repercussions, and those repercussions are that inflammation, glycation, oxidation. There's breakdown, there's damage that's happening. And then the few mitochondria that are working are getting overwhelmed and they can't keep up. And it's just this downward spiral that continues to happen. And so it's definitely physiological. I mean, there's a psychological component at play, and you are the placebo. You can have a dramatic impact on your physiology with your mindset, and that's something that I get into in the book. Like when you believe that the universe is working for you, when you believe that the obstacle is the way, and you have that stoic, resilient mindset, that can shift everything, because you'll start seeing the good. Typically, healthy, successful people are expert reframers. But here's what we're doing. We're not even reframing positively typically. We're reframing negatively. We're saying, we're taking a situation and we're turning it into the negative. We're saying like, oh, figures, of course this happens to me. Doesn't this always happen? Oh, this is always my luck. The always and the nevers and the usuallys, and this is the way I guess it goes, and all that kind of stuff. That's negative reframing, instead of the positive reframing of, oh, well, this is an opportunity. This is a unique challenge. This is a chance for me to forge ahead when everyone else doesn't see it, when they don't have the proper mindset, when they don't have the vision that I have. And so like, that's where like the power of positive thinking can be so powerful to shift your health. But I mean, it's definitely correlated heavily to mitochondrial health. That's why I put a lot of research there, a lot of supplements there, a lot of diet discussion around mitochondrial health and how to resolve that.
Yeah, no, I think that we're talking about placebo versus nocebo, right? The placebo versus the nocebo effects of placebo. You think that you're going to have a positive result. You're in the positive arm of the study. You think, okay, I feel different. I'm feeling better. And you actually didn't receive the experimental drug. So that's like when we're talking about placebo effect. And nocebo effect is that, you like exactly that negative, pathway. You don't believe anything good's going to happen to you. You're spiraling down. And the same thing, the positive and negative is energy. And, it's getting down to these energetic positive charge versus negative charge, positivity versus negativity. There's a charge with our thoughts. I mean, it's not soft science, right? There is a charge with our thoughts, and how like this is, on a physiologic level affects the smallest particles and the powerhouse of our cell, the energy powerhouse of our cell, the mitochondria. And so one of the things that drew me to your work, Shawn, was this getting to the smallest, places we can make a change that will make the biggest difference and, improved outcomes. And I think that's, it's one of the things I really like about too, the supplements that you've worked on and you mentioned, and the creative aspects of finding the smallest steps we can take that are going to make the biggest change in life, and how worth it is. So let's dive into the mitochondria, because energy is a really big issue. Energy is a big issue for all of us. We don't have the energy to go exercise. We don't have the energy to, read to our kids at night. We don't have the energy to date or whatever it is, So I think that's a really big issue. One of my clients, Tracy, who's been in my Magic Menopause program for years, she said, she's lived on a farm, she has horses, and she hadn't been out there in a couple of years. She did my program, and before you knew it, she was out there every day after work with the horses, walking the farmland. And she would recognize the days she didn't feel like going out, she'd been off course, right? She didn't maybe drink her protein or keto green protein shake, or she didn't, do her gratitude journaling in the morning, or she got caught in toxic thoughts and that just pulled her, whatever it was that pulled her down. So it was like a reboot, a reminder that, okay, keep doing the practices and principles that give us the energy to do the things that we really love and enjoy, which then gives us more energy.
Yeah. So supplements, is that what you're interested in? Like when it comes to mitochondrial health and diet and some of these other aspects that you can do to enhance the mitochondrial function?
Well, I definitely think I want to talk about exercise snacking. I definitely want to hit on that topic because I think that's so good, so important, so new, right? It's like I want to know, like give us a few biohacks that we can start doing right now to improve our energy, our mitochondrial function. That's going to have a bigger impact on our overall health.
Yeah. So exercise,
We'll start with energy snack. I mean, yeah, exercise
exercise
snacking
snacks.
because it's
Yeah.
so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then we can hit keto and then we can hit supplements.
Okay. Exercise snacks is a unique term that's out in research right now. It's an idea that we don't go exercise for 1 hour a day at the gym. I mean, that's already great if you're doing that. That's much better than nothing, obviously. But there's data that shows that 23 hours of being sedentary and 1 hour of being active, is not is not going to have as much impact on your longevity as when you do 5 minutes an hour of movement, like especially like ancestral movement or, planking and crawling and, push-ups and sit-ups and things like that. Doing 5 minutes of that an hour throughout the day has been shown to be way more impactful than having this concentrated period of time. Not because the concentrated part is bad, but it's how sedentary we are during the other 23 hours. We're in our car, we're laying on our couch, we're laying in our bed, we're sitting at our desk. It's too sedentary. Our body isn't getting a chance to move lymph around, to circulate blood, like to really all of these tissues are dynamic. When you look at fascia, bone, connective tissue, muscle, the nerves, like everything they're dynamic tissues that are in a constant state of remolding. And if we are in a consistent state of sitting or laying, our body is going to make that an efficient state of using less energy. And over time, like your abdominal muscles, your groin muscles, like your iliacus and psoas, et cetera, these are going to shorten. They're going to put you in that seated position. And your whole body is making changes after years of sitting, and they're not good. So it's very good to like take that 5 minutes. And there's also data on just taking eye breaks, off your screen, and taking breathing breaks, and just taking breaks from your work. So all of this can flow together where you're taking 5 to 10 minutes an hour to go to the bathroom, to take a break from screens, to do some deep breathing, to refocus yourself, to do 5 minutes of planking, and then getting back to whatever the work is you have to do. So exercise snacks is very fascinating when it comes to longevity. It shows the importance of us just moving our bodies, keeping our body in motion.
I love the term. And, in our Girlfriend Doctor Club, we created a bunch of 3 to 7 minute videos that are like, okay, do this 3 times a day, just whenever, just do it 3 times a day, whether it's squats, like there's a week where we're just saying, okay, for these next 7 days, I want 3 times a day, just do squats. I mean, just to start that habit, right? Or doing plank or doing, leg lifts or whatever it may be, even if you're sitting in the chair to do a leg lift. I mean, we just start where you're at. And I was to encourage women, and men, just start where you're at and gradually increase. I have a friend the other day and he's like, yeah, I do 100 push-ups every day. I'm like, every day? I mean, is that not good? He's like, look at my arms. I do 100 push-ups every day. It looks pretty good. I'm like, you're right. It looks pretty good. I'm like, okay. So what's working for you? What's not working for you? And But I like the idea of just the, I mean, seriously, the calisthenics, right? They've been around for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So getting into the ketogenic diet, which I've been talking on for about 20 years and doing for 20 years now, how that works with mitochondrial health, several ways. But one of the most important ways is going back to that idea of insufficient cellular energy states. About 88% of the population is in a state of metabolic dysfunction, meaning that we're heading towards insulin resistance or already in it, and then all of those other issues. And what happens with insulin resistance is we're not able to use this fuel, our primary fuel source of glucose, as well. And in the body in general, this is known as insufficient cellular energy states, ICE. But in the brain and neurological conditions, it gets called brain energy gap. It's the same idea, where you have a shortfall of energy. And so a way that you can overcome that has to do with the secondary complex of the electron transport chain, creating energy through all that kind of stuff that maybe you studied back in high school with the Krebs cycle and all that kind of fun stuff. But where you can create that alternate fuel source, how you can bridge that gap. I mean, yes, get in shape, get moving. Yes, improve your insulin resistance. Yes, do those kinds of things. But the fastest way to solve this is to have an alternate fuel source, which is ketones. And that's why we see, it's like turning the lights back on for some people. It's lowers inflammation and glycation and oxidation, all of which I talked about before when there's mitochondrial dysfunction. So getting in that state where you can provide that alternate fuel source, where you can bridge that gap, provide the brain the energy it needs, provide the body the sufficient cellular energy that it needs, then the body can function optimally. Then you're not heading towards disease state. When we look at insulin resistance, it's the hallmark of basically all biological aging and disease. I mean, about 1% of disease is genetic, about 99% of disease is metabolic. And so disease is metabolic, and it's largely driven by this idea of being insulin resistant. And then you might say, well, the whole rest of the world doesn't need to eat keto. Okay, my explanation for that is they tend to eat less than their maintenance of calories. They move their bodies throughout the day. They don't have ultra processed foods that are high glycemic. They have whole foods that are low glycemic, that are often high in fiber, high in resistant starches. Certain times of the year, a lot of these cultures eat pretty much ketogenic, like maybe having more meats and cheeses and things like that. But even these more like vegan carb-based cultures, their carbs are so different than ours. It's not comparable at all. When you look at like these high fiber, high resistant starch, carbohydrate, like if I was to give you a green banana, it's a resistant starch. It has basically no blood sugar impact. But if I was to give you our GMO hyper ripened bananas, like even that's in a sense ultra processed to me, even though we're calling it whole food.
Mm-hmm. Well, you just made me think of fried plantains. I think it's so good. Fried green plantains. Oh my gosh. That is a superfood for sure. You're absolutely right. And one of the things, the whole Mediterranean diet, right? And the red wine culture, like, oh, they drink red wine. This resveratrol must be the missing link. And I'm like, okay, there's all good things about resveratrol, but isn't it the table of friends and family you're sitting with and laughing with that make the biggest difference? That's oxytocin, the most powerful hormone in our body, the most anti-aging and alkalinizing hormone in our body. So that will overpower that, pasta side. But it's also like, poco a poco, right? A little bit. It's not binge eating. It's not like the huge portions that we serve in the US. So portion size, like you said, I couldn't agree more when we look at that. And even too, just the mobility, and even within our cities, right? Even within our country, the more mobile populations, the cities with walking trails and more of a walking culture, they're thinner. They're thinner versus if you have to drive everywhere to get someplace or don't have the safe walking ability that so many other, that we need, then you're becoming more sedentary and more isolated. And certainly we've seen that over the past year with COVID. We've seen 15, 20 pound on average weight gains, just that shift from not moving as much. And that's a huge metabolic strain. One of the things with keto, my platform being Keto Green, this whole concept, when I shifted to ketogenic diet, the piece where I've added my alkalinizers, the micronutrients, we say that, for men and women, we have to do this differently, but women, especially the microgreens, the alkalinizers, but the lifestyle factors, the thoughts we keep, all of these lifestyle pieces are part of the keto green diet, or part of that plan. But what I experienced was like my brain just turning back on, that light, it just lit up. I always call it energized enlightenment, because the combination is just so powerful. The keto green or keto alkaline combination, getting into ketosis, is just so powerful for healthy brain function. What do you think people are doing wrong when they say they're doing keto, but they're not getting results, or they're struggling, or they hit that plateau?
So there's several things there. I mean, one, they're probably not eating enough fat, and get away from the idea of you are what you eat that we were told to you burn what you eat. This shift will help you to change that paradigm pretty dramatically. If you start thinking like, whatever I'm like largely eating in my diet, my body will optimize as a fuel source. And so just having fat as the number one macronutrient in your diet, your body will optimize becoming a fat burning machine, instead of having the fear that when you eat more fat, you become more fat. It's really important to shift on that. So what I find typically is most people are trying to eat clean, like this bodybuilder diet, where they're eating low carb, but also eating low fat, which just leaves them with only protein. And they're not really getting into ketosis. They're getting effective at gluconeogenesis. And it kind of puts them in this like constant hangry state where they're not really optimized for either ketones or glucose. And it just seems like a mess. But I think that's the number one thing that I see. The other one that I see is people buy a lot of ultra processed foods. Now you can buy all the keto snacks and treats and like do all the desserts, and like that's all cool. Like I get the idea, like you're trying to be keto, but like still trying to live like a Western life. But all of that stuff is like net carb calculations. And there may be truth to it, there may not be from that company side. And there's a lot of bio-individuality on your side. Some of these short chain fibers, like IMO, isomalto-oligosaccharide, is 70% maltodextrin. And so even though it's listed as a fiber, it may have more of like basically a sugar type impact. And, the same with some of these sugar alcohols, like maltitol. Some of these ones have like much greater glycemic impact than other sugar alcohols. It's all very like bio-individual. And unless you're wearing like a continual glucose monitor, you don't know what you don't know. And I would take the time. I like the idea of like 60 to 90 days of getting like fully keto adapted, knowing what your body can respond to, and knowing what ketosis feels like before you really start playing around with net carbs and all that kind of stuff. So those are the two biggest ways I see people undermine themselves with the ketogenic diet, and they say they're doing keto, but they're never in ketosis. Another thing that I will throw out that can throw people off is once they've gotten into ketosis and been a ketogenic dieter for a long time, and they're checking their ketones, sometimes they get frustrated that their ketone levels aren't high enough. This can actually be, one can be a sign that you're not doing things correctly. But I would say, if you know what the ketogenic diet has felt like because you did it correctly for 60 to 90 days, I would ask you how your energy is, and that's the best sign. And if your energy is great, but your ketones are low, this is a sign that you're now ketogenically adapted and you're using those ketones instead of them circulating at a high level. Your body's becoming efficient at pulling them into the tissues and using them as a fuel instead of them just sitting there. Essentially, like I was talking about insulin resistance and glucose intolerance, early on, you're ketone resistant, you're ketone intolerant. And so over time, you become more efficient. And just like with blood sugar, your blood sugar can lower as you get more efficient. And it's the same idea with ketones. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And I remember lecturing at Keto Conference not too long, a couple of years ago now. But I asked the audience, how many of you are doing keto? Of course, like 90 something % of the audience raised their hands. And then how many of you are testing your ketones, either urine, blood, however, breath, and less than 10% of the room raised their hand. I'm like, okay, if you're not testing, you're guessing. And it is so individual. With my second book, Keto Green 16, I wore a continuous glucose monitor for almost a year, on and off, but almost a year, trying out the recipe, seeing what pushes me. Like coffee pushed up my glucose. Speaking on stage pushes up my glucose. A good high intensity interval training workout, man, I'll get up to 200 on my glucose, right? So at fasting, those are at fasting. And so I found that to be so eye-opening to me, to see how my body was reacting to certain stimuli, right? Even 0-calorie stimuli.
Yeah, and that's another point too, is that's important to look at, is glucose level going up is one thing, but it's okay. Like if you are insulin tolerant, glucose tolerant, if you're insulin sensitive, that your glucose can spike. It's a question of how quickly does it come back down.
Yes.
And that's something to be mindful of too. It's not just that numbers are going up. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's
right.
How long does it take to come back down? I just want people to be mindful of that. Like, yeah, there's a way that you can figure out that your glucose could never go up, but then essentially you become like highly keto adapted and insulin resistant. You're metabolically inflexible that way. So it's okay. Like when you have protein, it's okay when you have carbohydrate or whatever, that there is some kind of, or like, coffee when you're in a fasted state or whatever, that it goes up, but it's a question of how quickly does it come back down.
Yeah, that's a great point. That is absolutely a great point. And two, the more insulin sensitive we become, the faster that rebound is. And I think it's essential to have like feast days, to have carb up time. We've got to keep up this metabolic flexibility. And like with anything, we can become very rigid and rule oriented and inflexible. So we don't want that. And the other biggest thing that I wanted to mention is like the only snacks we do are exercise snacks, no snacks. Like I'm a big on no snacks. It destroys women's metabolisms and men. And today still, and Shawn, our audience, Shawn and I are both in Dallas. He's up in Frisco. I'm down in Knox Henderson. And I had lunch with a friend who is under the care of one of the major institutions, plus a trainer, plus, the works, right? And I was like, oh, cool. What did your, nutrition plan? He's like, yeah, I've got, my blood sugar's a bit high. My hemoglobin A1C is high. And, the nutritionist put me on this, diet plan. I'm like, oh, tell me about it. And it's like, yeah, 3 meals, 3 snacks. And I just like spit out my coffee. I was like, are people still saying this? Do we, as the science is without question, how is that type of diet being given to a 55-year-old man, let alone don't give that to a woman? But I've read online, I forget, one of the main popular journals said the way to eat in menopause. I was so excited because I was like, it's got to be keto, green, Mediterranean. I mean, give me something, right? 3 meals, 3 snacks. I'm like, are you insane? Like, that is never good. Okay.
It's the
It's me
outdated.
passionate.
Yeah, it's the outdated idea of balancing your blood sugar by snacking throughout the day of like the 6 to 8 small meals, and that data is just terrible. It just doesn't show to be
Yeah.
true. But I agree completely. Like, even ahead of, like, I love the idea of intermittent fasting and of doing, a ketogenic diet and cyclical and targeted and metabolic flexibility and doing paleo and all these things that I do. And sometimes I even occasionally do carnivore and nose to tail. Like, it sounds complex, but I will tell you the number one place to start is dump ultra processed food,
Mm-hmm.
move your body, stop snacking, and stop thinking that you need dessert at every meal.
Mm-hmm.
If you can do like those things, that's the place to start before you even get into all the other things that are a little bit more complex. Like, just if you can just start moving your body, stop snacking as much, get back to whole food. Those are going to be like foundational places to start. And then what's nice about that is if you can wean yourself off of sugar, of desserts, of snacking, of ultra processed food, then you're not going to bring those habits into the ketogenic diet, where people buy all these keto treats and snacks and look up all the dessert recipes and whatever. I'm not saying that stuff isn't okay from time to time, but like, when it's like some people I know that do the ketogenic diet, it's like, that's like the only thing they want to build their diet around is like, oh, I can do this diet, but just have desserts all the time, just have treats all the time. And it's like, that's not the approach. And you are not going to end up losing weight. You're going to end up gaining weight, because this is a high fat, high calorie diet potentially. And if you're overriding satiety, you could end up gaining weight when you're doing all these treats and snacks and, ultra processed foods that are quote unquote keto.
Exactly. And I think that's where, just the same with the old gluten-free, right? The gluten-free snacks. No, if the word has snacks in it other than exercise snacks, y'all, can we just agree that we're not doing that anymore? In your chapter on growth, one of the things that I love you talking about are the ingredients for growth and nootropics. And so can you touch on that a little bit for us? What are nootropics?
Yeah. So that word means like brain or mind, like, and it means, trope means to grow, and new, NOO, means like brain or mind. And so it's like growing your mind, like enhancing your mind. This is the idea of like the Bradley Cooper limitless NZT drug or whatever it was. And in that movie, of like becoming something more than you think you have the capacity to be. And so nootropics are going to enhance brain function. And I go through a number of those stacks in there. One of the main ones, and this is especially going back to 88% of the population, this is almost 9 out of 10 people in the United States are metabolically dysfunctional. So that's why like keto is going to be so effective for most people, because it's going to be turning the lights back on. So that's where having like C8 MCTs, exogenous ketones, berberine or dihydroberberine, these things that are going to enhance ketone levels are going to keep turning those lights on brighter and brighter, if you will. Like, you've been so used to trying to compensate with sugar and caffeine and dopaminergic stuff like internet porn, turning like up the rock or rap music as loud as you can go, trying to like weave in and out of traffic, trying to stimulate yourself with all these things, because you're tired, you're exhausted, because you don't have fuel for your brain. And your neurons actually fire slower in these states. And so giving them the fuel that they need, giving them these ketones, and then in time healing your metabolism and allowing it to properly use glucose is going to enhance your energetic states and allowing for greater brain function.
And we all want that. A really big thing that I didn't know, right, as a specialist in OBGYN, no one knew that until recently, looking at MRIs in women and looking at glucose metabolism in the brain. Glucose metabolism in the brain is a hormone dependent, is estrogen, most likely progesterone dependent. But we see this deep dive of gluconeogenesis in the brain. We see this deep dive with perimenopause, 35, 45. It's a deep dive with increase in neuroendocrine symptoms, all the GYN symptoms that will bring you to your GYN office. You don't know this, Shawn, but like PMS, breakthrough bleeding, irregular cycles, heavy menstrual bleeding, all in line with anxiety, depression, mood swings, PMS. You know, I will say, if you only hate your husband 2 weeks out of the month, it's your hormones, not necessarily your husband. But insomnia, low sex drive, all these neurologic symptoms, compounded with the endocrine symptoms. We're in this period of neuroendocrine vulnerability when the brain utilization of glucose is sacrificed, is struggling. And so when our estrogen, progesterone levels are going down, our symptoms are going up, and our brain is starving for fuel. It's not just a good idea to get into ketosis, especially for women in perimenopause through the rest of our life. It's mandatory, in my opinion. It is mandatory.
Yeah, when the mitochondria can't get this fuel and can't get ATP made, the energy currency for the body, adenosine triphosphate, then everything starts shutting down. Literally, you can look at all disease, again, except for maybe 1% or just some inborn genetic disease. All disease is tied to this. And biological aging over chronological aging is tied to this, is metabolic dysfunction and ultimately mitochondrial dysfunction. And so, yeah, if you're not giving it the fuel source that it needs, then your whole system comes crashing down. It's like glycation is blood sugar damage, right? So when that blood sugar is sitting around too long, it's causing damage, and it leads to advanced glycation end products, AGEs, literally appropriately named. And when you're on the ketogenic diet, like you use, it's less oxygen intensive, and therefore there's less oxidation. And so oxidation can cause free radical damage. And then with inflammation, I mean, this is why people like have so much fatigue, brain fog. Like that's brain fog is essentially neurological inflammation. And so like this is all getting into that we're functioning suboptimally. We don't have the energy to get it done, and that we're overworking the guys that can work. And then in time, more and more stop being able to work because they're just overwhelmed. They're calling strike, they have their signs that like, I can't work anymore, we're overworked. And you're not helping them out. And you're like just saying, well, just work harder. Here's caffeine, here's more sugar, here's these, dopamine drivers, like just do more. And they're overwhelmed and they can't. And so your body starts to break down and you get into disease states.
Yes. And let's talk about some of the supplements like MCT oil, and you mentioned berberine.
Yeah, so MCTs, medium chain triglycerides, these are medium chain fatty acids, meaning like the carbon length. So there's short chain ones that typically occur in the gut. Butyrate's of a huge interest right now in gut health. Medium chain are things that we're finding to be highly ketogenic, especially like the C8, the caprylic acid. So if you could get a C8 MCT, it's more ketogenic than a mixed MCT oil, and certainly more ketogenic than a coconut oil. So they're all great. So I would look at C8 MCTs as the best ketogenic fatty acid. And then berberine, dihydroberberine. So berberine is essentially the herbal version of metformin. And that's been shown head to head. They have very similar mechanisms of action as glucose disposal agents, of a mechanism of action called AMP kinase, AMPK, and it's been shown, metformin's been shown to be potently anti-aging. Right now, there's a study with 10,000 people going on looking at anti-aging. Yes, it's effective for type 2 diabetics as a glucose disposal agent, but more so we're looking at the anti-aging effects even with people without diabetes, or even people that are, somewhere in between.
And in gynecology, we used it in clients with polycystic
PCOS,
ovarian
yeah.
syndrome. Yep.
Yeah.
And trying to get pregnant and fertility for sure.
Yeah.
With vitamin D, I might add.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so what's interesting is metformin, there was a recall last year. It was tainted. It lowers B12. We've seen that. And it also causes GI distress in about a third of the people. What's cool is berberine is an herbal natural version, works the exact same way. And in a study head to head, it actually worked every bit as good and actually improved some other markers more so than metformin, with inflammation, with dyslipidemia, et cetera. This new form, dihydroberberine, is about 5 times more bioavailable and is what berberine converts into in the gut. It doesn't have the bioindividuality issues that metformin or berberine have, doesn't have the negative GI impact. You can take about 1/5 of the dose. So you take anywhere from 100 to 150 milligrams a day, to once or twice a day, I should say. So like, let's say anywhere from 100 to 300 milligrams, whereas berberine is 500 to 1500 milligrams. So berberine much higher dosing, much lower bioavailability, more GI distress. It also lasts about half as long in the plasma as dihydroberberine. So dihydroberberine really outdoes berberine and metformin. I mean, flat out. So it's the one thing that I recommend that everyone takes. Like, it's the most potent anti-aging thing that I know of to take. And even if you're not even remotely diabetic and you're highly insulin sensitive, it's been shown that lowering your insulin levels, even beyond what we think is just normal, still has a positive impact on markers of aging. So there's really no reason we shouldn't be taking it.
That's fabulous. That's really good. I'm adding that to my supplement line right now. And yeah, no, that's really fascinating information. I've been interested in berberine for a long time too, just the antifungal effects of berberine and appetite suppressant effects of berberine. I mean, it's fascinating.
I know something really crazy is metformin originally was brought to the market as being anti-influenza and working on viruses. And again, there's some metabolic health stuff going on there. And interestingly too, it's a mitohormetic. It does cause a little stress to the mitochondria, but it seems to be a positive stress at the doses we're talking about to actually get them stronger. And so there's a chance, I haven't studied this. This is me just conjecture, right?
Okay, got it. Disclaimed.
That berberine, metformin, dihydroberberine, these may help with COVID, with virus scenarios. We'll still experience flu potentially, so it could be helpful in these kinds of scenarios. We just need more data on that, but that was originally its purpose.
That's fascinating. I did not know that about metformin. And just tell you, anything we can do, like getting into ketosis, right? Anything we can do to get rid of sugar, to lower our sugar, to become more insulin sensitive, is going to prepare us, and
exactly
a first wall of armor.
If being obese and type 2 diabetic is a comorbidity that puts us at high risk for these viruses, then why isn't this one of the major therapeutic pathways to treat these viruses? It's baffling. Like, it literally is listed as a comorbidity. So how do we improve our outcomes? Or at the very least, if you're not going to concede improve outcomes, say improve resistance to then like, let's talk about that. Like, I'm not going to get into politics of this, but there's a lot of things that get recommended so that we can lower our risk, but I'm not hearing a lot being said about improving our metabolic health.
Well, I think it's an important analysis would be, if all of us who have been exposed, and who have not gotten um, sick or, been infected, what's different? What's different between those who aren't and those who are? And I think, we know the highest risk groups, but what about those that are exposed in hospitals and first liners and in community settings, et cetera, on a regular basis, but, haven't been infected? So what about this population is preventative?
I mean, it's a great question. I think I know the answer, but
I know, I'm like, I can tell you.
We'll just leave that for the audience.
Do what we say, read our books, follow our programs. I mean, that's it, right? It's like, and I always say that, there's always something that resonates, right? Like I learned something from your book, it's so much good information that I want everyone to read it. I mean, it's also, you're getting down to the science. I want to hit on a couple more supplements. CoQ10, one of my favorite, carnitine, because I also use these supplements in fertility. Like, I would use these to increase, to support ovarian function, to support sperm function. So those are key mitochondrial powerhouses. So those are a couple supplements that I love. I wanted to know what your thoughts are.
So here's one that you might not think of that has a positive impact on reproductive health and is a buffer that you might think is some bodybuilding ingredient, but creatine is associated with reproductive health with both the ovaries and the testes. So that's one to look at. And you mentioned like alkalizing and like just the idea of like bicarbonates, of some of these buffers, like creatine, they're really interesting when it comes to, again, metabolic health.
Where do we get creatine naturally?
It's in red meat. I mean, largely, it's really not, there's no real vegan sources for creatine other than, buying the powder, which is made synthetically. So you can buy the powder. And let's see what else. So in terms of mitochondrial function, you mentioned CoQ10, which again gets back to that electron transport chain. And there's another ingredient, PQQ, that's kind of a sister molecule to CoQ10 and has some synergy with it. I would look at both of those ingredients for enhancing metabolic function. And then there's a really, really interesting one that is just getting some press now, and it's being considered for vitamin status, of which PQQ was once being considered for vitamin status. But ergothioneine is a trace amino acid, and we don't make it, and you can find it in organ meat, in certain beans and mushrooms. And what's really interesting is your body has a unique transporter and storage system for this amino acid. So your body is set up to use this. And what it does is actually protect the mitochondria directly. There's cellular antioxidants, but this is a mitochondrial antioxidant. And so it's really fascinating. It seems like it's your first line defense to protect the mitochondria. So there's some really interesting data coming out on this amino acid called ergothioneine.
Are cravings your downfall? This is truly typical of anyone trying to lose weight. Let me tell you, willpower is physiologic. Just like Francis discovered, the Keto Green Shake Mix is a tasty and nutritious way to replace a meal while helping you feel full longer and giving you the nourishment, vitamins, minerals, protein, fat that your body needs. So cut your cravings, boost your energy, and improve your overall fitness with the Keto Green Shake Mix. Find Keto Green Shake at dranna.com and use the code SHOW10 to get 10% off your first order risk-free. So give us a day in your life, Shawn. I could keep you on. You know, I can talk to you forever, and I hope to catch up with you. I was up your way not too long ago at the Star in the Cowboy Club up your way. So we have to get together. But
Yeah.
talk to us about does a day in your life look like?
Well, I think the most important thing, like, I wouldn't want to overwhelm someone with like all the things I'm doing, but like here's like the 10 minutes of morning routine. If you can give me that, I could radically transform your day. One, it starts with getting to bed on time the night before. We're the only species that's depriving ourselves of sleep so that we can watch extra Game of Thrones or the ball game, or whatever it is you're doing, or just saying I need to get all these chores done, and you just kind of wander around the house and you just stay up and you expose yourself to blue light, junk light this whole time when you're looking at your devices, your TVs that are now twice the size of what they used to be, with twice the brightness they used to have. And you're watching them twice as long because, not only do you have the TV, you have your cell phone, you have your tablets, you have your laptops and your computers, and then even crazier is like VR goggles now, like where you're literally just putting the light right in your eyes. So that's a lot of exposure of light. The light frequency is supposed to change throughout the day and allow for melatonin to be released. And that's not happening. So be mindful of junk light, be mindful of proper sleep hygiene and getting to bed on time.
And is there a specific time that's better to get to bed?
I think ideally, like, it's not a time as much as it is like following the light, like being your circadian rhythm is your sleep wake cycle, and it's driven by day night. And so I would stay up later in the summer and I would be more active, and I would have a larger eating window in the summer, like per Satch and Panda's data. And I would have like a shorter eating window, and I would get to bed earlier in the winter. But that's just, I think that's just following nature. If we were just
circadian reset, right?
If we were just outside, what would we be doing? Like if we didn't have our artificial boxes and our artificial floors and our artificial light and our artificial lives on the wall, on the screen, and we weren't eating artificial food and breathing artificial air, what would we be doing outside? Think about that. You would just
cooking
be going
outside, walking outside.
You'd be going to bed earlier though, like in the winter, because there's just less light. And so that's what you do. And that's what your body's meant to do. And so I would just change that throughout the year, is, kind of follow the amount of light. But if I wake up to me, and then I got like my cortisol and epinephrine going, and I stayed up way too late because I was watching Game of Thrones or the ball game, and now I'm exhausted. I had that brain energy gap I was talking about. My neurons are actually firing slower. There's neural inflammation, like I was talking about, and I need something. My brain needs fuel. What can I get? I need sugar. I need caffeine immediately. Okay, now I can get going a little bit. And I'm trying to wipe the sleep out of my eyes. I'm stressed because I only got about 5 hours of sleep. And by the way, it's been shown that you're acutely insulin resistant when you don't get enough sleep.
Right.
What's going to happen if you chronically don't get enough sleep? You're going to be chronically insulin resistant. Mm-hmm. And then you're 2 to 3 times more likely to have a heart attack. You're 5 times more likely to have diabetes. You're obviously going to live a shorter life. And so just now you're struggling to get out the door. You're agitated. You're tired. You feel like traffic sucks. Everyone's cutting you off. You're reframing in that negative sense. Now you finally get to work. And like you go straight into your emails, you're distracted, you're looking at your phone, you got all your emails, people are coming in and out, you're looking at your social media, you're getting no quality work done. And you're just holding on for like, 10 o'clock, like, okay, now I'm like going to get like another donut or, an energy drink. And then maybe I can make it, I hope I can make it to lunch. I'm going to get pizza and a soda because I'm just struggling today. Look, I don't care. It's called decision fatigue.
Right.
Like I'm going to do the right thing tomorrow. I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow. I'm going to eat better tomorrow. I just need to hang on today. And then you're struggling through your day some more, not getting a whole lot done. You're super distracted, which is a constant state of distraction, is using up more brain energy, right? Because you're task switching. You're never focused. You're using tons of energy in your brain. It's one of the worst things you can do. And then you go back to that vending machine, you get a Snickers bar and a Coke, and you hang on for the end of the day. You're back in traffic. You're weaving in and out of traffic, and people are cutting you off. Oh man, this sucks. I finally get home. I flop down on the couch. I have a beer. What a day. I'm exhausted. Now I'm watching the news, which is draining me even further, because anyone that doesn't watch the news is uninformed, but anyone that does watch the news is misinformed. So now I'm pissed off at the news, and then I'm going to be pissed off at whatever I'm watching on TV, because it's meant to be clickbait. It's meant to pull you in. It's meant to trigger you. And I'm watching all this blue light, and I'm exhausted, and I'm drinking, and I'm finally going to go to sleep way too late. And this is my day. Or give me 10 minutes.
10
give
minutes.
Me 10 minutes. Okay, let's set the clock 10 minutes earlier. And now the lights come on slowly. You can buy these lamps where the light gets slowly brighter in the room. You can get an app or a device where the chimes get slowly louder and closer together. And you ease into waking up. And now I do some box breathing, where let's say 4 to 8 seconds. So this is 6 seconds in, 6 seconds hold, 6 seconds out, 6 seconds hold. That's a box. And I might do that 4 times. Now I'm in my body, I'm breathing, there's blood flowing, I'm relaxed. And now I'm going to start doing some gratitude. What are all the things I'm thankful for? I'm thankful that I woke up. I'm thankful that I'm breathing. I'm thankful that my dog is licking my face. I'm thankful that I'm here, that I have a job, that I have a car that works, that I have a house, that I have people that care about me. And this is positive reframing.
Increasing oxytocin.
Yeah. And now I'm going to do some future casting with some, affirmations. And I'm going to talk about all the amazing things that I believe are going to happen to me. Today, I'm going to make an incredible impact. Today, I'm healthier than I was yesterday. Today, I'm going to change someone's life. Today, I'm going to meet someone new, those kinds of things. Then I get out of bed. I do some light stretching for a couple minutes, get in my body, move my muscles around. And then I go get a full glass of water before I reach for coffee or Monster or anything like that. I'm going to get a full glass of water and hydrate. And now that's 10 minutes. That's 10 minutes. And then let's say I go to work now and I'm not so worried about traffic. I'm listening to a podcast, maybe like this one, and I'm educating myself, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling happy. And I'm in my body. I have gratitude. I get to work. I'm not distracted. I'm going to do the Cal Newport deep work, where I turn off all distractions, all notifications, all connection to anything else. And from 8 to 10 a.m., I'm going to do deep work. I'm going to knock out one task, because in those 2 hours, I can do more than a distracted person does in 8. So I'm going to knock out a huge task. I'm going to feel super accomplished. Maybe I'm doing intermittent fasting. So now at 10 a.m., I have something to eat, something that's healthy, something that I chose, something with intent behind it. And then at noon, when everyone else is going out for lunch and eating garbage, maybe I'll go take a walk. Then I come back, I get some more work done. I'm looking forward to actually getting back home, taking my dog for a walk, maybe meeting some friends out at a restaurant, having a nice night out. Maybe reading a book, doing some exercise, and getting to sleep on time.
I love it. I always say to change your life, you have to change your morning. To break the habits that have caused you to go down a path, you can't start out the same day, the same way. in the day. So I think that's so powerful. I love the scenario you painted for us, Shawn. I mean, this is awesome. All right, to my audience, you guys, Shawn Wells, author of The Energy Formula and 6 life-changing ingredients to unleash your limitless potential. So as energy is an acronym for what we talked about earlier at the start of this podcast. Shawn, tell our audience, you've got a great Instagram channel, you've got a great website. Tell our audience where they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so at Shawn Wells, SHAWN on Instagram, I have a lot of infographics and great information for you. Everything I have on all my channels is free for you. And ShawnWells.com, SHAWN. I have a weekly newsletter with all the latest science and ingredients. And again, there's nothing to sell. The only thing I sell is my book, which I love if you buy it, but if not, I have tons of great information everywhere else. And then energyformula.com, you can get the book. I have the Audible, which I read. There's the ebook and the hardcover. Everything's in full color front to back, tons of cool diagrams, all that good stuff, lots of good science, summaries, surveys that you can take to see where you're at. And then if you do energyformula.com, there's a fasting for energy guide, a hidden chapter on natural movement that covers exercise snacks, a recipe guide, Q&As, a bunch of cool stuff, and it's all free. That's
Awesome.
it. And
Thank
if you hit me
you.
up on Instagram, I will answer any of your questions on DM. So I answer my stuff. It's me.
Wow, that is awesome. Yeah, and yet you focus on getting a good night's sleep, right? With all this going on.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's so good to have you on this podcast. Thank you for being on the Girlfriend Doctor Show. I want to thank our audience for listening in today. Really, like the pillars of the Girlfriend Doctor are that we nourish our body, right? Awaken our mind, embrace those we love with passion, and shine from the inside out. And there are, many little steps that we're going to take throughout our days to get us where we need to go. The little shifts that we make mentally, but remember, physiology is, drives our behaviors. Our physiology is driving our behavior. Getting clear, getting into ketosis, eating clean, living life with movement and purpose and intention is is the key, the secret to a strong immune system, is the secret to a long, healthy life, is a key ingredient to a healthy marriage, healthy relationship. So I want to thank y'all for being with me today. Remember, I'm the Girlfriend Doctor, and there's no such thing as too much information. You can ask or tell me anything. So visit me at dranna.com/show, and I'll look forward to next time. See you then. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel here and get those notifications, and comment below. Let me know your thoughts, what you loved, and what your action step is.